Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Story Darlings podcast. I'm Sandra.
And I'm Tara.
And Tara, what are we talking about today?
So we are talking about our February book club book, which is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Yeah, I had to read that. I was like, I don't know this book. Okay, can we really quickly talk about the cover of this book because it throws me off? And no offense to whoever the guy is, and no offense to Callie for picking this, but he is not who I envisioned Kingfisher.
No.
It threw me off the entire book. I think this is the first book that I've really disliked the cover because it doesn't match who I have in my head, and it is so distracting to me every time I pick it up.
I don't understand him like crying like a Quicksilver tear either, because I don't think he did that, did he? The whole book?
But there was mention of him like leaking ichor, which was the silver. So I don't think that's him crying. I think that's him leaking it from like it kind of poisoning him.
And are these his hands? Like holding his is he holding his own like neck? I was like, are these Saeris's hands? Because she has the whole
Well, now I have to look because I don't know. So if this plays, I'm sorry, guys.
No, I think the general consensus is that most people do not like the cover. I also am one of those. But again, like you, no offense to the cover artist and cover designer and Callie, for her decision.
I will say, I do like the rest of the book cover with the butterflies and how pretty those are and like colorful. Mm-hmm. And the contrast between it being basically black and white and then the color of those.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that part. I just do not think he fits the Kingfisher vibes that I had.
I'm having a hard time with his name.
That
Kingfisher.
Too.
Fisher sometimes. I'm like, that's not sexy to me.
Yeah. There were very few names in this book that were. So I have a feeling like some of them are more, not odd, but I feel like they're from a different culture than we are in. Yeah. And maybe that is something
we're super cultured.
That I just don't get, because her name, Saeris, Saeris, yeah. There's got to be somewhere that is a name from, right? Like, it sounds very Irish to me, but I could be off.
And Renfis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you didn't listen to the audiobook, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, and so, I've listened to it very, very fast, so I don't know how to pronounce anybody's names.
So the male actor, Anthony Palmini, is who plays Rhysand in ACOTAR, and he did the voices so good. Like, I had heard great things about the Quicksilver audiobook, but he really did a phenomenal job because Renfis had that Irish accent, and then he had his kind of very grainy, like kind of low, scratchy voice, which it was kind of hot.
Growly.
Yeah, very growly. We like the growly.
There are some people like I on TikTok saw, and I don't know who this person is, but he was giving directions. The meme or whatever was that if he's giving directions, I'm just going to keep driving. It was great. And I think he should read books.
The sexy GPS guy.
Yeah.
The navigation. Uh-huh.
This is the best one that I'd seen so far. So
he's like, make that right hand turn, good girl.
Yeah.
You're a good girl.
And now you've reached your destination. She's like, no, I haven't. No, I don't care where I'm driving, but I'm still driving.
Circle. Too funny. That was a good one. The audiobook was phenomenal. And this was probably my third book after we finished Onyx Storm. And I will be completely honest with you, Tara. I am still in the biggest reading slump after Onyx Storm. I cannot get over that book. And everything I have read since then, it's not even fair to be reading books because the best I've rated a book is like 4 stars.
This is the first book I've read since Onyx Storm. I'm a little bit slower than Sandra. Life gets away from me sometimes and I just lay in bed staring at the ceiling like my ADHD let down. And so I've not been super motivated to read. And this one sat in my motivated. Yeah, this one sat in my Audible for like 3 weeks before I actually started it.
But it was quick to ease into. Like it definitely captured your attention with things that were happening. And there were a few characters that just really stole the show for me from the get-go.
And I don't know if this is just because I listened to it so fast, but I did not have the hard time of getting into the world building that I normally do with fantasy books. And I know I've talked about that before because I'm not a true fantasy reader. I'm not in that. It takes me a little while to figure out the world and to use my imagination to figure it out. And I don't like that.
Well, yeah. And in your defense, I feel like a lot of fantasy tends to just info dump. They don't really weave it in a good, natural flowing way. You just get inundated with details.
I think this one did a pretty decent job of weaving it in. I did not feel info dumpy or like I was bored to death.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. There is at least one character from almost the get-go that is very quippy and drew me in. And that is Carrion. If you pay attention to Sandra at all, she's been commenting on Carrion and how she thinks that he was not giving side character vibes from the beginning. And he wasn't.
He was just flirty and snarky and he just had a swagger. Like he oozed sexy.
He had some BDE going on. And I really also enjoyed his kind of quips with her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And like that little, I don't know, it felt like he was treating him like a big brother would.
Yeah.
Like just messing with him a little bit. But then he was fucking his sister. I don't know, maybe he was like big brother-in-law kind of.
Yeah. We find out so much about him later, and it's just Saeris' reaction to that is hilarious. So before we dive into more, we're just going to talk spoilers, okay? We've been talking for a couple minutes now, so we're just going to jump right into spoilers. We meet Saeris, who is 24 years old. She has a little brother, Hayden. And I kept, because
He's not
his name
that
is
little.
Hayden. No, because his name is Hayden, I kept picturing Hayden Christensen from Star Wars, you know.
Okay.
And so that's why I kept picturing as her little brother, like very tall, handsome, but kind of lanky-ish.
Geeky too.
Yeah, geeky cute. And Hayden doesn't really feel like he contributes a whole lot.
He's not the smartest.
No, he's a boy.
He's not the brightest crayon in the box. He keeps doing stupid ass shit. Like getting involved with Carrion or falling for his like little.
He's Carrion. You can say the name. I can't say it. I'm going to call him Care Bear. Okay. Care Bear, isn't he like a thief or something? He's kind of like
he's a smuggler.
A smuggler, yes.
So okay, for me, I not envisioned Chris Pratt because that's not how I envision him looking.
No.
But I envision him having the same energy, maybe a little bit more smoldery than Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy. But like that doesn't take himself too seriously, but knows he can get the job done when necessary. Smuggler.
Yeah. The humor, yeah, for sure.
But he's got the BDE that I don't think Chris Pratt had in that movie.
Yes. Someone commented and said he's basically Riddick. And I was like, oh, that's a good parallel. Riddick from Fourth Wing had that same kind of energy, like very cocky and confident. And that line in Onyx Storm when that girl won't give him the time of day, he's like, well, I fuck like a third year. It's like that kind of attitude is what Care Bear has. And then we find out other things about this world, like they live in Zilvaren.
It's a shit place to live.
It's a shitty place. I kept picturing District 9.
The whole damn world is a shitty place to live.
Yes. It was almost like a Mad Max, like water was hard to come by. Yeah.
Well, but is water hard to come by, or
they make it hard to come by?
Intentionally not giving it to this specific region.
Ward? Yeah. Third ward.
And we find out that her mom is dead. And I don't think they ever knew who her dad was, really. Did they?
I don't think they've explained it. Yeah.
Trying to, like, she was selling herself to get water and possibly food. And then she started smelting knives, armor, and things like that, swords, so she could sell them for food and water.
Which knives here are very, very illegal. Like, you will be killed on the spot. And that's exactly what happened to Mama.
Yeah, she had her throat slit. And we also meet some kind of guards of the queen, which is Madra, which that has a language connotation too. Like in a lot of different languages, that means mother, which threw me off a little bit because I'm like, wait, is she good? Is she bad? What are we doing here? But her guards, we see have a special armor that is gold. And we see the Saeris. Why can I can't say that one.
You can call her Sair Bear.
I'm just going to I don't know what I'm going to call her. Hers isn't as easy as Carrion. But so she has this weird ability to kind of feel magics or metals at the beginning. And she first realizes this when she has the opportunity to steal a part of one of those guards' armor, his arm plate or whatever, wrist gauntlet or something. Because she lets it slip that she's from the third ward. He immediately drops her and his gauntlet that she touched because he is convinced that she is plagued. Because that is the rumor of the third ward, is that they are plagued. And so he drops it, she steals it because, like, gold, and I'm starving, and we don't have water, and then hightails it up a wall with this. And in doing that, she feels it. Its metal properties. Not just like I touch it and I feel it, but she can feel it, like its essence.
At this point, I had no idea what was going on with her. I was like, okay, why is she so special? We know about this Undying Queen and this weird-ass ward where they're not allowed anything and they're treated like shit, and she's somehow kind of communicating with metal. That turns out to be a bad idea because anyone can just tell on her and she will get taken away. But her plan is to go melt it and then use that to make more money or get resources or whatever. And so she turns to Care Bear to help make that happen because he's a man of means.
And he's like, fuck, no, get that shit away from us. You're going to get everybody killed.
Which he had a point.
Yeah. And her dumbass brother, who she has to go to the bar to visit Carrion because her brother lost a bet to him. He got his butt beat, right? Like he got beat up. And Carrion's like, I only did like a few things to him. It's fine. We find out that she and Carrion had a thing, right? And he is mentioning this in sly little ways. And I'm sorry, but this scene where he's like whispering in her ear, Like, not sexy things, but just like whispering in her ear. I was like, ooh, I do like this. Is not second side character vibes here.
He sure was not.
But we find out as she's trying to talk Carrion down, Hayden disappears with a stupid gauntlet.
I was sure that he was going to be dead.
I was too.
I was like preparing myself.
Spoiler alert, we don't know what is going on with Hayden. Like, this is pretty much our last time we see Hayden. So he could be dead for all we know. But we're crossing our fingers because Esper doesn't want him to be dead. He's her only living relative.
But what kicks off all this weird shit is she immediately runs off, going to look for Hayden. He's surrounded by all of the guards, pretty much, just like backed into a corner, and is about to get executed, like on sight, because he just keeps resisting. And she's trying to help him, so she starts fighting guards and proves that she's actually a really good fighter. Like, she can handle her own. She's very good with daggers and a sword. And
which is against the rules, because you're not supposed to have been able to train.
They end up overtaking her, hauling her ass away, pretty much. And so they're walking her to Madra in the palace. This is when she notices like this weird little shadowy area. I had a hard time picturing this because it's described as kind of like a sword in the stone type of thing.
That's what I pictured, is a sword in the stone type thing.
And she just like yanks out this sword and all this crazy shit starts happening with like a puddle of metal and shadows and all of that. And that's where we meet Kingfisher.
Yeah, I was waiting for his name to be something like Silver or something.
Like, I'm going for the literal silver, but not Kingfisher. I'm sure there's probably a meaning with Kingfisher. I don't know. I think there is some kind of story about the Kingfisher bird.
So we meet him. Didn't she get her ass kicked or something? Isn't she like close to death?
Oh yeah, she got gutted, like a gut wound, a bad one. Like her intestines were coming out.
That seems to be her MO. It's to get gutted.
Get gutted.
Is it Kingfisher or is it somebody else that makes an offhanded snide comment about when they met, she was like wearing her entrails?
I feel like that was Kingfisher. He was very mean from the get-go.
I thought it was hilarious comment about the fact that she was wearing her entrails like it was like a part of her outfit that she had planned on.
It's like a Hawaiian lei.
Yeah.
Draping down.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty funny.
It was funny.
She did not.
I mean, if I was her, I would probably not find it funny as well.
It was one of those too soon comments.
But you know, this scene was cool because I haven't really read a lot of portal magic books, and the whole concept of these Quicksilver ponds and puddles that they can transport through to a whole other galaxy, like a different star or a different planet. That's what I'm most looking forward to after reading this book, because I felt like we got the major tease there, and so now I want to go explore and see all the craziness.
Well, we got I don't even think it's a major tease. We got pretty much told towards the end that is a thing. Right? Because we see at the very end a tree of life, and it holds all of the galaxies in the entire existence. It's not even a universe, in the ever.
With the god of chaos.
Yeah, and so I think that would be a possibility.
It was cool how they tied the god of chaos's daughters into the names of the sun for Zilvaren, where Saeris is from. Because, that was a really cool thing about the world, was she was not acquainted with nighttime. She had never, she did not know what nighttime was because it's always daylight there. They have 2 suns. They have blackout curtains to sleep. That kind of reminded me of Nevernight by J. Kristoff, if you've ever heard of those books. It's like always day.
So I did not get that.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that piece of...
It was maybe mentioned twice, that's it.
Knowledge.
But I was like...
But there's also a moment towards the end that kind of fits in with this, where she is sensitive to light.
Ooh, yeah.
And that kind of fits back into, I don't know if there's something there.
What did you think of that whole reveal? Because I wasn't expecting this creature in these books. I was pleasantly surprised by it.
What she became?
Yeah. I was like, okay, there's Fae. Cool.
What is that creature?
Fae story. Vampire. Like an actual vampire. A blood-sucking vampire.
Well, but she's not a vampire. She's a different creature, which is what the god of chaos, the god of chaos said. Is he has to create something that has never been created before in order to stop the other gods from recognizing her.
Mm-hmm.
And so he created a half vampire, half fae, and created her in that. They don't know what traits she's going to get from each one. So we still don't know what she technically is, right?
Mm-hmm.
A vamp...
Okay.
A vampire? A vampire. That's what I want to call her.
A vampire. Oh, jeez.
Vampire?
I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing there.
I
can't even say her name. Okay, no. Saeris. The way that she's described throughout the books is she has long, dark hair and blue eyes. After she was turned half vampire, half fae, I was picturing Kate Beckinsale, Underworld, right? Just the very startlingly blue eyes, the dark hair, just like pale,
I mean,
Because-
she looks young enough to play this still, so can we get some Kate Beckinsale in this movie? Like,
Which,
she could play
speaking
a
of-
mom. She could play, like, his mom, because his mom was kind of described as long, dark hair, too, wasn't she? Kingfisher's mom?
I don't know. I can't remember how the mom was described. I mean, at the very minimum, she could play Madra. But
Oh, no, I don't want her to be an evil person.
hey, a hot evil person would be fun. She could do
I know,
it. She
but
could
I
do
like
it.
Kate. She could do it, but I like her, and it would be hard for me to dislike Madra if Kate Beckinsale played her. And, like, I don't want to be that person that likes Madra.
Oh, I'll be that person.
Okay.
It's fine.
We just kind of skipped over a lot of the middle part because there wasn't a whole lot. It was worth things, but there was a lot of small things.
There was a lot of angst and
Mhm.
her trying to figure out her role as an alchemist, because it turns out Saeris is this very rare thing, person, creature, whatever, called an alchemist. And
That
they
can-
have the power to speak to metal and basically transform it however, right?
Well, get
so-
it to transform. She doesn't actually do the transforming. She talks to the metal and convinces it that it
She
wants to
convinces it,
transform.
and then she, like, pounds away
Yeah.
at the forge. So that was interesting, just the whole magical way that she had to basically have a conversation with them, and whatever they wished, she had to make it happen, whether it was telling a joke, which that was one of the funniest scenes in the book too. It was, tell me a joke, and she tells it a joke, and it's not funny at all.
And then Carrion comes and tells
Yes.
jokes, and it's like, okay, I'll take that one.
I accept. Yep. I
And
liked Lorith.
Whoever kind of gives it the thing that it asked for gets the weapon that she creates, right? Like, they're now the owners. So Carrion got a weapon, and then so did, who else was it? What was his
It
name?
was Lorith. Lorith took that female phase.
Yes, Daneth. And she was not happy. And I kind of really enjoyed the fact that she got her hand blown off.
Tara's a
I
tough
was
love
like,
kind of girl.
bitch deserves it. She was such a bitch.
She was kind of like a werewolf to me, because I always picture werewolves being just fast to anger and kind of unreasonable, and very
Well,
entitled. And she just felt like a werewolf creature
She
to me.
was just like what's the word? It's late time for me. It's past my bedtime. My brain's not working. Condescending
Yeah.
asshole. Like, even with the table and where Saeris was sitting, and she thought that it was her place to tell her to get the fuck out of that seat. It's not yours. And everybody else is like,
She
it
can sit
kind of
wherever.
is. She is his mate. And she's like, but she's just a fucking human. Like,
Obviously, she wasn't using her nose to sniff out what was
the fact
going
that
on
they had been
between
fucking.
because they smelt it. That was probably one of the funniest scenes of this chapter 13.
Okay, can we talk about the other thing that, like, kind of was smelled, which cracked me up?
Yes, we can, please.
So Saeris talks Kingfisher into going back and trying to get her brother, right? And he makes this oath that she has to make these weapons enough for his kingdom, basically, which she didn't realize it was his kingdom. He said, for my people, and she didn't realize that, like, there was more than, like, the 3 that she knew. She has to make these weapons, and he would go back and get her brother. And she kind of hinted at, how are you going to find him? And he's like, I can smell your blood. And so he goes back, and then he comes back, and he has Carrion as his carry-on. As Sandra.
Carry on baggage.
Yes. And she's like, what the fuck? This isn't my brother. This is Carrion Fvcking Swift, not my brother. And we get left with that knowledge for a little while. And then when it comes back up, he's like, well, he smelled like you. And I'm like, wait a minute, is Carrion her brother too? Like,
Tara texted me.
her mom's touring around, like, what? Oh shit, she fucked her brother, right? Apparently I'm very much into finding out if there's incest in books, because I'm always, that's where my mind goes, right?
Spark of the Everflame.
But anyway, not her brother, so that's good. However, he smelled something else of her, like, because they had been intimate, and he gets a little bit peeved about that, and makes other people wash him with, as he puts it, foul-smelling things, and, like, basically, like, well, he has some fun with it, apparently.
He does.
Because he's like, hey, they were available.
It was like a little harem of sprites at his beck and call.
Giving him a happy ending there. Because they were trying to wash off her smell from him.
How mortifying.
For her, he enjoyed it, so I guess it wasn't mortifying for him, but for her, she was like, aw, crap. And I did enjoy Kingfisher's, like, we see a little bit of jealousy, even though he's still in his hatred mode.
I loved how he tried to play this little hate card with her and telling her the story of this little butterfly with its little pointless existence. It's so fragile, yada, yada, yada. And it ended up being one of the most romantic things ever.
Yeah,
It's
people...
sacred.
The men would go protect the butterflies so that they could, what is it, not bloom,
Procreate.
but metamorphize and procreate, because they could only live for one day. And so this was a big tradition that all of these big burly warriors and the best of the best would go and protect these little butterflies. And his little name for her is My Sacred.
I like that a lot.
And so, as you can guess, they end up falling in love. And
Chapter 22, The Itch.
She is trying to save him the entire time, and he is trying to get her to not, because he thinks that he is kind of doomed.
Which it was sad how it was manifesting in him, because he has been through the Quicksilver so many times. He was wearing like a ring to try and protect him a little bit, and then he had this special little amulet that was protecting him, whatever. But he had literally traveled through the Quicksilver too many times that he was going crazy in a way. Like all he could hear was this constant chatter in his head.
Well, but also because she hears the chant a lot.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
wonder
yeah.
if it wasn't just constant chatter, I wonder if he was hearing all of those people that we meet later chanting at him, "Release me," which is what that meant.
Which that was kind of fucked up.
Yeah. So we meet these people. There's like this Romanesque style amphitheater that we end up in. There's all of these people that are kind of like ghosts that have been burned alive. We find out that Belkin, who is his kind of stepdad that hates his fucking guts and I think murdered his dad and his mom, Madra, and Malcolm, who is the leader of the vampires, are brothers and sisters, and they are all in this together. And even though Madra is the one who sealed the like Quicksilver, they're teaming up again. I don't know how she got around that. And Belkin isn't ending the war because the war is feeding his brother's armies, right? The vampires. And they had made a kind of deal with with Kingfisher, that they, in a battle, he had made a deal to kind of save the people left in his kingdom, that they would flip a coin, and if it landed on one side, they would leave, and if it landed on the other, like basically everybody would die. They caught it before it landed, so everybody is stuck in purgatory, basically. Instead of allowing the vampires to feed on his whole kingdom, he burns it down. But he is stuck in this kind of limbo looking for this coin so that he can then release them and kill Belkin and Malcolm, because he also, part of that deal was to let them live until that coin dropped.
It was purgatory for those people that Fisher had to burn alive, but it was a hell for him because he's stuck in this labyrinth for like a century trying to find this fucking coin, right?
Yeah.
Which it was a trick anyways, because it was never in the pile of coins when he got to the center of this all. And so he'd been digging and digging and digging whenever Saeris had opened the gate, so to speak.
That was the thing that I didn't get until I read my synopsis of this book, because the end was a little bit confusing for me, and it could have just been how fast I was reading. I didn't get that that is when he dropped into her life, is from that room. And from his, I would still say it's like purgatory for him, because he's stuck in a like never-ending loop here of looking for this coin.
And the creepy spider Fae guy.
Yeah, and he can't get out. He's not able to leave. He can't kill anybody. He can't tell anybody about what's going on. So his family and friends, he just disappeared, and they don't know where he is. Belkin is pretty happy about this, but everybody else is wondering where he was and thought that he had just left them. And then he feels his dad's sword calling to him, and he falls through the Quicksilver to her and saves her.
The weapons were really cool because after Saeris forges some of them, I thought Lorith's, the one that he ended up taking from the chick, that one was so cool because it wasn't that one where it was like, sing me a song or whatever. And his song was really good. It does make me wonder if we're going to get some dragons at some point, even though supposedly they're dead and there's like that giant skull that was in the throne room of Belicon. At the end of this book, there was so much up in the air because first off, Malcolm is dead. His second, or the first vampire that he made, Taladeus, which I was kind of getting some hot boy energy, sad boy energy from him. Like, dude does not want to live any longer. But now that Malcolm is gone, it does make me wonder if he will want to live again.
And he kind of sired her, right? Because he was trying to save her after another gutting. He told her, he's like, I have a way to save you, but I have to turn you in order to do it. And Kingfisher's like, do it, save her. He was even saying that he would give up his part of his soul, which he'd already done for
many, many times.
For who else?
He did it for Lorith, but he's done it for others. Yeah.
And they were saying, you don't have enough left. It will kill you to give up more. And he's like, I don't care. I want her to live. And she's like, I told you, if you went against my wishes one more time, I would not be with you. And so he was like, it's okay, because if I die, it'll be fine. And she's like, no, I will end our mate bond for now and forever if you do this. And so he kind of backed off and let her be turned.
I'm glad that she consented to what she wanted done, because Taladeus was like, well, there's another option. I could turn her. But then they're like, after she has this meeting with the god of chaos and stuff, and they come back to her recovery room, Taladeus is there. And there's some weird tension between them. He bit her, she bit him.
And we found out before that biting, during one of the spicy scenes, she had to give permission for Kingfisher to bite her. It added a lot to her experience in that spicy scene.
She blacked out, and that was probably like for her benefit.
Well, I think she blacked out because she was seeing too many stars from her enjoyment of that experience. It makes you wonder if there was some sort of spiciness or additional love interest going on here.
I kind of picture it like Vampire Academy or True Blood. Like they get very like it gets their pheromones going, right? They get all sexual and hot and bothered and stuff. But she is definitely enthralled to Taladeus at some level.
Okay, so let's talk about the little tattoos that appear on her. The first time is during a spicy scene, right? That she notices after like the spicy scene that she has tattoos on herself, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?"
I have a bird on my chest. Yeah,
And he's like, "Don't worry about it. It's fine. I can remove them."
it's fine.
But what he wasn't telling is that these are marks of a mate bond going in place, and she finds this out because what's her name? Like a healer visits her, right? And she has tattoos that look very similar up her arms, and so she starts asking her what those are and what they mean. And she's like, "Oh, these are tattoos we get when we get married because it's like a myth that was passed down from very long ago when true mates existed that they used to get these." And she's like, "Motherfucker, he knew what these were." And then she also gets told about another tattoo that she has, and she just point blankly asks, "Okay, what about this kind of a tattoo?" And the chick's like, "Oh, those don't really exist. They were supposed to be like god marks." And she's like,
God
"What
marks?
does that mean?"
I still want to know, really.
Yeah, but I think that is like what's his name, the Chaos God's mark on her, that he had been playing with her.
Yeah.
Like changing things in her destiny to try and make things happen for his. What he was wanting.
The way that he explains it to her during that end sequence with the dying tree of life and all of that, and he kept telling her in every single future possibility that he was imagining, her and Fisher getting together was like a world ender. And I don't feel like the book really explained what about them getting together.
So it wasn't them getting together, but it was kind of like in Onyx Storm, where you have like two equals on different sides, right? So them getting together, he's powerful, she's a really powerful alchemist, as we find out even from Malcolm, because he's wanting her to give him his power back. And he's like, you're an alchemist and you're a very powerful one. You can do more than just talk to metal and do metal. You can do power itself. And so we've got this super powerful entity for the good side. And Chaos is saying that there's going to be an equal negative side come in, and that is what kills the world.
I need to go back and read that part because I did not get that. So do we think we're going to see that negative side in the next book?
I think so.
So November 18th is when book 2 comes out. It is called Brimstone, and Brimstone was mentioned a couple times.
That's not an ominous title of a book either, so.
But it goes with Care Bearer's name, which he had an interesting name from the get-go.
Carrion Swift. Swiftly die.
Ooh. So it turns out that he is the heir to the Fae throne, the Dianthus throne, right? Which was cool because it was mentioned one time that, the rumor is that the heir to the Dianthus throne is running around Zilvaren somewhere, but no one really believes that. Whatever. And it turns out it's true, and it's him. In the next book, if he's the true heir...
Like, that doesn't make sense to me, because isn't the Dianthus throne in a different world than what they're living in? Or are these all in the same world?
It depends on how you define world, because they're all connected via portals. So you had, like, the vampire portal. I'm like, are we about to see like a death, like a demon type of portal in the next book? Like, what's going to happen? And we know that his father found the cure to the vampires. Malcolm was the only one that said no because he liked his immortality and his power that he got with that. It makes you wonder if we're going to figure out some stuff there with Taladeus and Care Bear and all of that.
And okay, so that might make a little bit more sense to my major question, which is, why did Malcolm drinking Carrion's blood like basically kill him? And is it because the cure is a part of his blood, maybe? Maybe.
He was also the bloodline that created the vampire, too, which was a major no-no. That's why he got sick. Would have killed a weaker vampire. The more I think about this, the more I see... That scene
was great, too. I really liked Carrion just, like, egging him on.
He was like, you didn't let me finish my introduction.
Shut up! Shut up, you're going to get yourself killed. And he was egging him on to get him to drink his blood. And then he starts getting sick, and he's like, what the fuck? And Carrion's like, actually... Like, I go by Carrion Swift, but that's not the name I was born with.
That whole scene was funny because it turns out he is well over 1,000 years old, too. And Saeris just looks at him like, what the fuck? I didn't consent to have sex with an ancient Fae heir to a forgotten throne, essentially. And he's just like, whoopsie-daisy.
Did I leave that out?
Yeah. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I like this book. It was funny, it was sexy, but it also kept my interest piqued because I do want to figure out what's going to happen. I'm like, tell me more about this Brimstone, because didn't they rattle off all these different metals and then Quicksilver and then Brimstone with what she as an alchemist can work with? So I'm just, what is going to happen here?
And we end with her basically becoming queen of the vampires because Malcolm died without an heir.
Dumbass.
In Fae lore, if you die without an heir, the person who killed you is now your heir, basically. And since she is the one who lopped the head off of Malcolm as he was trying to get the coin away from her, she is now the heir. Which, okay, so Belkin and Madra disappeared, right?
They ran away.
But we were just told in the last one, like the last scene, that they all three had to die together or you couldn't kill one. So how did we get Malcolm dead?
I don't know. Maybe he's not really dead, but the beheading thing seemed pretty final, especially after he had the Dianthus blood.
So maybe it was the Dianthus blood that made him, like, broke him from the triumvirate or whatever.
Yep, maybe. So, okay.
But that wasn't really explained because we just had a scene where she basically kills him and then he pops back up and he's like, oh, you really thought I was dead? No, we have to die together. And then the very next scene, he dies and she becomes queen.
It seemed very final, yeah. So, Madra, they kept saying she was a human, she's a human. She has to be at least Fae, right? Because Belcon's a Fae, Malcolm was originally Fae, so she has to be Fae. But I guess it wasn't really clear, or maybe it just wasn't acknowledged at all. I guess it could be possible that she was part vampire. We don't know. Like, she just was in her castle the whole time. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, and so Carrion was glamored to appear human, so maybe she was too.
Ooh, yeah.
I thought it was hilarious how she kind of finds out that she is potentially the queen of the vampires too, because they're all just like putting up tents outside where she is, like, hi, we're here.
It's your war camp. Here's your people.
We're here. Lead us.
She's like looking out,
like sitting there.
She's Jon Snow. She don't want it.
She's like, I don't know. No, I'm not their leader. That's not what I signed up for. I signed up to be a vampire. That's it.
I'm ready for some weird triangle-like tension with her being enthralled to Taladeus, with her being mated to Fisher, with her trying to figure out how much vampire tendencies she has.
But is she enthralled to him? Like, I get that there was a part right after she drank from him, but I don't know that she is still enthralled to him. I think there's some weird chemistry because she bit him too.
Yes, but here's the thing. So the book took the time to say Malcolm was so old, all it took was biting a human one time and they would be enthralled to him. That's what happened to Everlane, Fisher's little half-sister. And she was mostly human when she was bitten. She had maybe a drop of Fae blood in her. And Taladeus was the next oldest that sired her. So I'm like, at some level, it might not be like full, I'm just horny for you type of enthrallment, but I suspect that she's going to be drawn to him.
But for me, that doesn't really work if she's going to be the queen of the vampires.
How does it not work when he's a vampire?
I know, but like she's going to be his leader and she's enthralled. I'm like in my head envisioning the sire bond from like Vampire Diaries where like they have to do what you want them to do kind of thing. And that is why he stuck around with Malcolm. Because he was kind of enthralled / sired to him. And if she is sired to T-Bear, there's going to be some things figured out, right? That doesn't really work out if she's the queen and sired to somebody else. I think in her being unmade and then remade by the god of chaos, that ended her sire bond to him.
You think so?
But I still think that there's something going on that we're going to find out. But I don't think she's like enthralled or sired to him anymore. I think that there might be something because of the blood drinking that happened.
Now I'm curious, like, what Brimstone is about, because the synopsis is available. The series is called Fae Alchemy, which, fits. Synopsis says, duty, blood, honor, power. Saeris Fane doesn't want power. The very last thing she needs is her name whispered on an entire court's lips, but now that she's been crowned queen of the Blood Court, she's discovering that a queen's life is not her own. A heavy weight rests upon her shoulders. Her ward and her brother need her back in her homeland, but the changes that have strengthened Saeris have also made her weak. Born under blazing suns, Saeris will surely die if she makes her way home through the Quicksilver, which means that once again she must send someone else in her stead. Keep your mouth shut. Stick to the shadows, and for the love of all 7 gods, do not crack any jokes. Kingfisher of the Adjun Gate has defeated armies and survived all manner of horrors, but traveling back to Zilvaren with Carrion Swift might just be the death of him. The male just will not shut up. Hidden dangers await them down the narrow alleyways of the Silver City. Unfolding secrets pose impossible threats. Fisher must wrangle the smuggler and accomplish his goals quickly if he wants to see his mate again. A darkness falls across Evalia. The realm and their friends are in danger. Together, Saeris and Fisher will pass through fire and brimstone to save them.
So Carrion is being a carry-on again.
He's luggage. He's getting dragged.
At least this time, Fisher knows that he had been intimate with his woman.
It's so funny that it turns out he is Fae though too now, so he can kind of hold his own against Fisher. It's so funny.
And a king in his own right, basically. He's the last heir of that kingdom.
Oh,
and
that's
Fisher's
gonna be so
basically
funny.
a king too, because of his mom and his dad.
Tara,
but
if they're shackled together trying to find Hayden, like Fisher has to do it right this time.
Like,
oh yeah, who knows what's happened to Hayden?
And
are we sure that he is just human, like regular human too? You know, like what if there's something special about him?
Maybe he's acting dumb so that you don't notice that he's special.
I don't know. So November 18th, we will see. I think this is supposed to be like a 3-book series, so I'm ready for it. But you mentioned movies earlier, and we kind of talked about Underworld, because the more we talked about it, like Kate Beckinsale, Saeris, I could totally see Malcolm as like the Marcus character, that top vampire guy that Kate Beckinsale treated like a father-ish. I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally kind of see that now.
Oh yeah.
But this series has been, like, it was a 7-figure deal that went to Netflix. So it might turn into a series.
So, okay, hold on. I'm just like getting some of these like similarities. Okay, so Kate Beckinsale is a vampire.
Yes.
Saeris becomes a vampire.
Yes.
She's in love with the wolf dude, Lucian.
Wait, was he full wolf? Or was he like
lichen?
Halfy?
He was lichen, so half and half. Like, Saeris is in love with a wolf. They keep calling him the wolf, and his like crew wolves. Marcus is a dad.
Yes.
Wolves are in every lore that I know of. Wolves are deadly to vampires, like the wolf bite.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is why the wolves in Underworld were kind of hunted.
Dude, did this start as like Underworld fanfic?
That's
I know
what
it started like
now.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
Because there was also like in the second one, the dude, he like there was some sort of like not alchemy but medicinal like powers going on. I can't remember what happened, but the really hot dude that she ends up trying to save in the second one, right?
I can't remember that far back. Hot dude.
Yes, type it in, it will come up.
Underworld 2.
But he did some sort of like research thing, I think.
This has inspiration from Underworld all over it. There's no way. There's
like
no
now
way
that you put 2 and 2 together on it, she had to have really liked Underworld. And maybe in her description of her, she was thinking Kate Beckinsale.
Okay, Kate Beckinsale's character's name was Celine. Somebody who's listening, who knows more about this and Callie Hart's story and Quicksilver, let us know. Because it kind of, all signs are pointing that direction.
Yeah.
That's cool. Anywho, tangent.
Yeah, sorry. I just thought that when you said it. I'm like, wait a minute, there's more than just that similarity.
It kind of, I mean, you know how Supernatural just had all kinds of creatures and lore sprinkled throughout it? This feels like a hodgepodge of that, because the Fae are tricksy. We have vampires. We had zombie-like vampires, the feeders. And these vampires weren't anything close to like Twilight vampires either. They were not super sexy. They were scary mofos. They couldn't cross bodies of water. They're afraid of the sun. All of that shit.
But they could cross bodies of water. They just did it under the water, eventually.
They sunk to the bottom. That's right. And they had to just do a Pirates of the Caribbean, like crawl out of the water.
Which is not creepy at all.
I hope this turns into a Netflix series. That would be fun to watch.
Yeah. As long as they pick a good actor for Kingfisher. If they
You're like, I don't want this.
I can't. Like, at least make him attractive. I just do not find the dude on the, no offense to the dude on the front of that. I do not find
Tara, I don't know if we're
attractive.
really insulting an actual person or not, because I can't tell if it's an actual guy or just like art, like made up. Like a painting.
Well, either way, I don't find him attractive, so.
Sorry, guys.
If you're real, sorry to you. If you're not, sorry to the artist.
I wonder what the new books are going to look like. Okay, so these books are being re-released, okay? The hardcovers have a gilded silver edge, which I think is so pretty, but the cover for Brimstone has not been released yet. So I'm curious what these are going to look like.
Does it have the same, like, main cover?
I
or is it
hope
different?
not. I hope not.
That hasn't been released?
Quicksilver hardcover. Oh, yeah. No, it hasn't been released. Cover to be revealed.
Okay. Well, maybe
They're
she'll
changing
take some of our
it.
suggestions and make it a pretty cover. Like, I could get behind, like, the silver edges and maybe just, like, the butterflies and, like, some, like, Quicksilver-looking, like, pieces and no person on it. That would be kind of pretty.
I'm generally not a fan of character art on the cover unless it is highly, highly, like a cartoon. Like, it can't look anything realistic because it just throws me off.
I am okay with it being realistic, but it needs to match what I envision the person as, and that's hard.
Okay, well, if you like realistic, you need to go to Callie Hart's website and look at her covers there for her other contemporary spicy romance books, because it has your name all over them. And also, there are 3 POV chapters, like Fisher POVs, that you can get on there for free.
Awesome.
So, I haven't read them yet. I don't know when it takes place.
On that note, that's a great note to end it. Go read those
Go
POVs.
read. We will hop on social media and do some kind of, maybe we'll do a vote, maybe we'll just announce what we're reading next. It's going to be something timely, right? Because there's a lot of things coming out this year. So it's always, we're going to try and stay relevant to when something releases. And there are a lot of sequel books coming out this year too. So TBD there. We'll hop back on and share. And until next time, happy reading and happy March. It's almost spring. Woohoo! We made it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.